Hello, everyone. Um, Thank you for joining me in this APPI Learn by Doing webinar class. Um, Today we're going to do another one of the focus on feedback, where you will really get that precognition begins with the feedback session. This approach for teaching happens to be my favorite because you don't always get to really start with the feedback session, but here we do, because with our month-long predictions that we've been doing, we now have one which has come due. I know some of you did this coordinate actually quite a while ago, over a month ago, um, and the question was, will the Golden State Warriors win the 2016-2017 NBA championship? The prediction was yes. But I want to make an additional point here, which haven't made for a while. And in this case, the outcome was a yes, so we had a hit. And we will be doing very shortly personal feedback sessions on this. So the sessions individually with the appropriate associated photo site target. But what I want to make clear here, in this case, the Warriors were the favorites, but this associative remote viewing, which we do, doesn't care or know. ARV is equal binary probabilities from the perspective of linear time chance, because you're predicting one of two possible targets, and if there were no precognition, it would just be a 50-50 deal. However, we obviously know it's not. In fact, we discussed that before here, where someone like Ramel got 7 out of 7 correct. That's certainly statistically significant. And John got 5 out of 6, which is also significant. So just want to make that point. Then we will do a new prediction, which will be a month long or more in the future, and we'll do the RV session, the judging session, but of course we'll then discuss it, but the feedback session has to wait for the outcome. Now let's talk about the one we're doing now for 756672. We had quite a few predictions. We made a group prediction. I made a group prediction based on there being substantially more, especially high confidence rankings, which for your newbies, I'll talk about in more detail, but it's a 0 to 7 scale, and you can see here we have 4 and over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on B there were only 2. We had a 6 here. So as a group predictor, as a group judge, it was pretty easy for me to choose photo site A. So that's a group prediction. And photo site A was randomly chosen with yes. Photo site B was randomly associated with B. After I chose A, we found that out, and that was the prediction. So there's lots of random stuff in here just to keep the focus totally on predicting the future target. Now, this group prediction really is the least important part of ARVing. The most important part is your personal predictions, your personal growth and transformation. Really get that the way the universe works and you being in the universe, a conscious being, precognition is real. And ARV is a stepping stone to doing this in other parts of your life. But here you can really get the training, and you can wager if you choose to, but a lot of people don't wager. They just simply do it for improving their precognition.
Hey, Marty.
Uh-huh. What's up?
Go ahead, Lynn.
Can you share your
The
screen?
screen is your screen.
Oh,
We're just seeing the APP.
You got to tell me sooner. Okay, now you see it. Though fortunately you said it and you didn't miss too much. So this was the group prediction stuff, and the rest I guess I just said, so it's fine. Okay, so let's move forward. With that background, with our focus on the specific coordinate and the ready to go to do our feedback target, unless there are any questions at this point. But thank you for reminding me to turn on the screen. Now, so how do I get my feedback target? Well, we're using the WEAP protocol, winning entanglements, and it's really done between the internet, online internet, and emails. Everything goes to our server, including lots of places for you to put comments, and all that is saved and available to you. So this really is designed to be a learning type tool. Okay, so here is the email which the group manager, which was me, would send out for any and all of the groups that you're in. Now this one is sent to the webinar workshop group, which is what we are now, and I'm kind of the representative for there. So I get these, but each of you in your own groups would get one just like that. And here it says link for your feedback. And notice it lists the event, Golden State Warriors, and the winning side was in fact yes, and I had put in the comment hit, precognition begins. Okay, so all you do as a user is click here. Now each person gets a unique coordinate, and so usually, again, not in the webinars, and so they have to put in their unique email address, and I did this with me, so Marty, and then you simply click here for your feedback target. So we're now going to do that. Aha! Now you've got your feedback. Now some of you who were here who did 756672 will in fact remember that. Okay, but I now want to go back here. You had a pretty quick look at that, but before we actually do the feedback sessions in detail, for the newbies, this is the place where I just want to remind you, and we'll be seeing transcripts shortly, and so you'll see this is how it works, that there's a descriptor list of the kind of words that come up. When we say, and the tasking is to describe your feedback target, okay? But the descriptions include words and sketches, and these are the kind of words you get. So the target that you saw, for example, what kind of words might you use? Do you remember any colors? Huh? Well, your consciousness when, and you're going to see what these people described, but your consciousness can pick up colors. I mean, in fact, I'm remembering black, I'm remembering some red. Anybody remember other colors? Not sure. I don't get smells. I didn't get tastes, but you can get smells and tastes. And they're words that you might use sort of as a small child. We don't want you to name things. That's a very high intellectual thing. The way the communication channel works, at the beginning, after you get trained, if you do long sessions, you can get the name of things. But we want to use words like this, like dimensions, geometry. I saw curved. Did you see curved? You see words like this. You can get sounds, temperatures. You can get these aesthetic impacts, these feelings. Um, um, there might, I don't see it in this list, but there might be a religious feeling, a spiritual feeling. Things like that can come up. Okay, sketches of what you had seen there. Okay, you're going to see what the remote viewers on this one did. And generally, you start getting pieces of the image. In fact, Russ Targ, one of the guys who started this at Stanford Research Institute, used to say, when you get like a actual brittle, bright, clear image, he says that's really not remote viewing. You were picking that up. Usually, none of these things are all the time, but usually an image from something else. So you almost always get these partial images. Sometimes you'll just simply get a line, and then you'll get more later, and you'll add more to it. But we don't want mental stuff involved. And these first impressions, these big pictures, the gestalts, are kind of the first reaction to the picture that you get. And it's the big picture stuff, one way to look at it, dominant features. Okay, so now let's take a look at what our viewers did. Now you can see this picture. You look at it yourself. You can see the round. You see the curves. I remember red, black, blue. And all phases of the associative remote viewing, you want to really set up a positive intention, attention, and expectation. Joe McMonagle, probably the best, at least public, remote viewer in the world. He was in the Army since the beginning of the remote viewing program there until its end, and Ed May, a scientist who's worked this forever, that's what they concluded. Intention, attention, and expectation play a very important role in application as well as research. And so the remote viewers do that. The cue, what they were asked to do, and what they did was describe, and I emphasize sketches because sketches just are not intellectual. They come right from the subconscious into your conscious being. Your submerged consciousness seems to give this to you directly. So we love sketches. However, a lot of people just simply get words from their subconscious, and that's fine too. And then it's and this is a 6-digit, we call it a coordinate, some people call it transcript reference number, but it is rigidly attached to the feedback target and nothing else. We use it as the cue, you see it, so your task is to describe and or sketch your feedback target associated with that coordinate. We do purposeful precognition. Okay, that's a different and an important difference between the kind of spontaneous precognition, which a lot of people experience, deja vu, or the telephone rings and it's somebody who hasn't called you for 10 years, you haven't thought of them for a long time, suddenly their image or their name or something about them comes in before you pick up the phone. You pick up the phone and there they are. You just hear a lot of stories like that. But we're doing it on purpose, and that's a rather important difference. So again, for the newbies, this is what ARV is all about. There are 3 sessions in linear time. It starts with the tasking, describe and sketch your coordinate feedback target. It next in linear time has the analysis judging of your transcript versus 2 possible targets. We do binary ARV. In the past, we've done 10. We've actually done up to 20, but we stick with binary. we think that's the best thing to do, especially for beginners. So there's two possible targets, one associated with one possible outcome, let's say in the stock market up, in the other is associated with down. In sports, it might be like we did here, a yes-no question. Will such and such team win this game? So one of the two pictures will be associated with yes, the other will be associated with no. So if there is a really good match to the yes photo site, you're going to predict yes for your personal prediction. And this is when you make your decisions to do wagering based on how well the matches were. Okay, and then you have your feedback session. But notice precognition begins here with the feedback session. Purposeful precognition begins with your feedback session. This is when you know the truth. What precognition demonstrates, and you got to get this deep, deep in your gut. You know, there's experimental data galore about this. Science has now proven this in every way science proves things, reproducibility, etc., the odds against chance of this being true is like millions to one by now. This has just been proven in every sense that science proves it, and yet most scientists won't accept this. You're here, so I think you do, and that's wonderful. But the fact that at the remote viewing session, we can get great descriptions of this, that we can get so many hits well above chance, shows that you are connecting somehow. And we don't have good explanations for that as scientists. Nevertheless, it's true. It's been proven to be true. So it begins here, and we want to light this up, and we're going to be doing that shortly. That's one of the reasons I love starting with feedback sessions. You're going to see this, and we're going to do it. Okay. Your task back here is to describe and sketch your feedback target. But the target, where it all begins, is the feedback photo site that you see here. Now let me just explain photo site to you. You're going to see, as you've already seen, what at first blush looks like a picture, and it is a picture. However, it really acts as a kind of transfer agent to the time the picture was taken, and your consciousness moves there. So you can pick up sounds, you can pick up tastes, you can imagine yourself touching the object, and you can get textures. All of your physical senses are operating as if you are at the site at the time the photo was taken. That's all in the definition of photo site. In addition, we want you, and this is in the definition of what a photo site is a target, we want you to describe what can be verified or very easily inferred from the picture. Guess why? Because when we're doing the judging, all we have to judge on is the picture and what is obvious from it in terms of it being a photo site. Okay? So I think that makes perfect sense for all of this to fit together, including the judging. But where does it begin? It begins here, when you know the truth. You will see me say this over and over because people will give lots of reasons. Sometimes they get other kinds of things, and let's say, oh, I really was focusing on the wrong thing. Yeah, right. Try not to do that. Don't do that. The target is the feedback photo site, when you know the truth. That's ARV. Okay, and the idea once you accept precognition is real, the idea is easy. You know, you don't have to understand it. Hey, do you understand how the internet works? How your car works? You don't understand it. But it's true. We know it's true. And get that deep, deep in your gut. So you just get at the level of no. So you're describing, you're sketching your future target. That's ARV. Okay, so I guess I said it quite a few times. I want to do one more thing, and that is we're about to do feedback sessions now. And this is a mental state, in my opinion. I've only sort of put this up in the last, I don't know, within the last several weeks actually, that this is like 50% from what I'm calling the subconscious, and 50% from the intellect. Now, a lot of intellectual stuff comes from the subconscious, but it's the intellect wants to be around here. You want to know that this is the truth. You're in the feedback state where you want to watch what's going on. You're also going to be learning about the judging statement, which is like 90% intellectual. So you really want to make these kind of connections. On the other hand, you want to be very open to connecting back with your remote viewing session. Now this happens in your normal state, which is probably even more than 50% intellectual, because precognition is going on all the time. So we're about to get into a state which is pretty much like where you are now, but I'd like you to bring up a little more connection from your deeper part of you as well. During remote viewing time, that's when you really get deep, and we're going to be doing that later. You're going to do a formal cool down. You're really going to get involved. But again, this is my opinion. The two parts of your brain, and you do have a bilateral brain, are clearly connected, and for different purposes you do different things. Here you really want to switch them. Here I believe you want to be balanced, but that's my judgment. Keep it interesting and fun, and that's up to you. Many people actually it happens automatically. They just love to do this getting in touch with their deeper self, their inner self. Some people call it their higher self. I call it the subconscious. But there's something deeper than the normal intellectual ego self that you use. So this is, okay, so they're learning about this communication channel. How can you communicate with this mysterious future? But you can. Others work at it. They will, and this is so important, remember intention, attention, expectation. They are beginning to notice that maybe it's getting boring, because if you want to do this, you really want to do it over and over again. Joe McMonagle does 6 a week. It's like use it or lose it, or use it and get better. Practice, practice, practice until you become a doctor, lawyer, or shaman. But they might realize that they are getting a little bored with it, or they're just having some negative thoughts come up. So I want to introduce the 5-second rule for you in ARV. So when any negative comes up in your mind, and I think this even works more than just ARV, but this started with food. I used to use this for my kids. My kids use it for their kids. And it started with food drops on the floor. If you can pick it up with 5, and within 5 seconds, you can still eat it. Okay, germs don't have a chance to get on it. Well, guess what? for your feedback session, for your judging session, for your remote viewing session, for all your ARV sessions, when life gives you lemonade, make lemonade. That old saying. This is an application of that. You return back to whatever session you're in with a more positive, fun, creative, interested attitude in 5 seconds. You just don't let that negativity stay with you. So that's the way you kind of handle negative thoughts when they come to you. Let's do some feedback sessions. So those of you that did this, you have your transcript in front of you because you're obviously not a newbie. And here is an example of one. Now, John, you're here, but what I want to point out for the newbies is the style which we're using in these webinars. When people do sessions on their own, they might modify it, but this, I think, really works well. We use this at the conference, the app conference in Vegas, and people really seem to like it and did it very well. So for newbies, this is a good way to start. There are 2 photo sites. I am not going to show you the other one because we're doing feedback sessions, and guess where the focus should be, where all the attention should be, on the feedback target. But during judging, when the colors are getting put on, the blue text was his remote viewing session, but then he did judging and he marked the A's. You can see the color, and we do recommend 2 different, actually 3 different color pens, and we gave them out at the conference. So you can see he used orange for his A's. He used green for the B, so he did a tick mark. So he has 2 tick marks here against cloth. So this has a feeling of cloth. It looks clothy on the outside, smooth, silky. So those are B's. Well, I'm going to get him to talk about this more, but now I just want you to look at the style. He got 3 greens here. Sometimes, and I actually recommend this, people add this up. So they tell you how many oranges they were, or A, they would say 1, 2, 3. B, they would say how many there are. And then that leads to a confidence ranking. And I'm going to show you the TARG one during your session, but it's a 0 to 7. And for A, he gave a confidence ranking of 2, and for B, a confidence ranking of 5. And so he indeed did 5, which I think was a hit, right, Sean? Okay, so why don't you tell us about this one?
No, no, that's a miss.
Oh, this was a miss. Oh, yeah, that's right. In fact, you're right. A was the hit. This is the reason I showed it first. And why don't you go through this as you would do a feedback session with the miss, okay? And then I'll emphasize it. But you know enough about this, so you go ahead and do your feedback session. And the misses, of course, are more challenging than the hits. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I would basically just go with that photo like you have it there and rejudge. I wanted to determine if I made a mistake in my judging or if I had displacement going on. And looking at this, it looks like I had displacement to the other photo site. But for now, I just go and score, and I would rescore textures and just mash it up to this photo and see if I had a scoring issue or judging issue.
And what do you think? I'm looking at this, and what do you think? Was there hard here?
Oh, yeah. There's hard. I didn't get structure in my ideogram. I actually remember what the other photo site was, so I'm trying to put that out of my mind. But
right, good. Within 5 seconds, perfect.
Yeah, so my ideogram don't represent this, and so after rescoring, I would do another ideogram like I would like to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and go over in this data. Hard is hard wood count, and then some of the colors. Let's see, we got.
Where do you see smooth?
Yeah, it's smooth could also describe. It's hard to say. Sometimes smooth can describe an angle, like a dimension, like how if something's curved, it could be, But in this
Well,
case,
yeah.
we're on textures, so it could be some part of the structure.
Yeah, but I'm saying that might have been a misjudge even there in retrospect, but that's what you're doing at feedback time, right? Your subconscious. Okay, go ahead, keep going.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of data to go over, and I would go through each one of these precepts
Okay.
and then kind of weigh it.
And
But
potentially change your mind. Um, Running motion like a race. You see, I'm looking at a lot of these, John, and I don't know why you did like a race in motion. Um, I think you used and now I'm making supposition, and I'm doing this as part of the class, okay? Because this would be the way I would look at this transcript if I had done it, and I'd say I would try to remember within less than 5 seconds just what you're doing. Like, why did I say like a race now? And circle it. As speed is an element. I don't see any of that in here now. And
right.
that's what's so beautiful at feedback time. You see the truth. And so I'm looking at this, and it's hard to justify a 5 now. I'm sure some of these are right. More than
Well,
one
yeah, 5 would match. 5 is a pretty good score for the other photo site,
for the,
so I'm definitely looking at displacement.
okay. Um, yeah. Yeah. Okay. You're right. Some of my comments are backwards.
Yeah,
But hard definitely goes for this one. Hard should have an orange there.
yeah, I agree with that.
Let's see if there are others.
So in the middle segment down at the bottom, it says seats like a stadium. It's got
Yeah.
seats in there, and then aesthetic impact is an event, some organized, focused,
Yeah.
people watching. Large enclosure was my dimensions, large but confined curves.
Okay.
But I did give that a mark of 2 on the dimensions, so that was properly judged on that.
Yeah. Okay, let's just say again for newbies, one way or another, when you're in this business, you're going to hear about displacement. And I personally only call it displacement if it's a 5 or more. And so John has, though I don't like you remembering the other one as much as you did, to even say the 5 is real, but nevertheless, for here, it certainly makes sense. A displacement is when you get a very good match with the wrong target. This was photo site A. Okay, he gave it a 2, but look, he got good description of the other target, which you don't want to focus on now. How did that happen? We don't know. And I want you to know people will give you all kinds of reasons, different reasons at different times, because it makes them feel better. We don't know. Do you know, John? Do you have a hypothesis? Quickly, in less than
Yeah.
5 seconds. Less than 5 seconds, quickly. Go.
Yeah, I think there's a combination. Some of it could be interest from the other photo site. You could have personal interest in it, or you could just be off target.
What about in
I
this
think
case?
there's multiple factors to be honest.
What about in this case? Do you have a specific in this case that you think might have done it?
Yeah. So when we were first doing this, I had a trouble figuring out what this first photo was. It was kind of grainy, and then the other photo was actually quite interesting. It actually was a race. And so I think my attention was just drawn to there out of interest. So sometimes, I don't know if you do a lot of RV, and sometimes you can get bored with mundane targets.
Okay, back to this one now.
Yeah,
And it
okay.
was perfectly okay to do all of that, in my opinion. And all of what you said in words took more than 5 seconds, but that would probably flash through your mind.
Right, yeah.
Now, as newbies, or for all of us, um, when something like that happens, notice the 5-second rule is perfect. You used the word boredom. I was more interested in the other one. Well, that's part of your training. Well, that's irrelevant. Your task was to describe and sketch this. And this does look grainy. You know, that doesn't look like the real sky. It looked like something happened to it. So what?
Well, let me touch on that. So that's one of the great things, or one of the great tools for feedback, is to go back and just really study this photo that you have here, and
Yes.
and what is interesting about it. Make it more interesting. Create a story in your head, and
Yep.
that's the easiest way to do it.
Even if you had said things like grainy or blue vertical lines, you know, because it looks funny, when as a judge you saw that, so you could send that back at feedback time, as a judge, that makes it clearer that this is it. So using this miss, and the old saying that there's more to learn from a miss than a hit, is generally true. Because you just saw it, John, you were just so beautiful, and I thank you for that, because all the things that you said were just so typical of how you're supposed to use a miss at feedback time. Okay, thank you. Would you like that anymore? I know John's been around doing this for so long. You know, as part of this class, you want to add anything more about this?
Oh, just that. I guess for the newbie's sake, even experienced viewers get displacement, and it still confuses us how it happens. We have theories, but we kind of just have to let it go and focus on the feedback. The feedback process is a tool that makes your entire RV progress. It's a huge thing to actually come in here and really concentrate on this, especially on a miss. I'll spend more time on a miss to figure out, what might have gone wrong. And then also at the end of the feedback, I'll say, okay, this is what I think happened, and I'll try and have an inner dialogue with my subconscious and say, I would like to have differentiated a little bit more, or even if it was more interesting on the other photo site, I still want to focus on the feedback photo and not the more interesting photo site. There's just a number of tools that feedback is just awesome. It's just a really important thing to do, and I hope that people don't glance over it too quickly. Even if they got a hit, some people are like, yeah, I got a hit, and they just really look at their session real quick and then they put it down. But if you dive into the feedback and see what you got and what you didn't, you're just enforcing that language more and more the more you do it.
Okay, good. Thanks, John.
Marty, can I say something?
Sure.
I did this one too, so I remember the discussion about this, but John doesn't seem to do much in the way of sketches, but if he had, I would bet that he might have drawn the toe of a shoe, because he was sort of focused on shoes. And this building, if you look at those red awnings, they look a little bit like the toe of a shoe, or even the heel from the back. So that might be part of where he was getting that shoe stuff, was there's actually that shape in this building.
Yep, that's possible. That's possible. Or, yeah, okay. Notice he did do this. Remember I said some people do words. I think sometimes he gets sketches as well. But you put down whatever it is that you get. So here's another one. This is Donna, who is not here. So let me discuss this, and I'll try to get into the mindset of Donna. First of all, ho, 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 very happy. Found that out. Notice she gave A 5, okay? Got the color red, beautiful. Notice she also did the A-B approach. And here with triangles, she put a B because you can get both. Some symbols, they're triangles in here. Here's one that you see very dominant. Wow, triangle was good. And there happened to be a triangle in B as well. Feel really good with that. Okay, good. Pyramid shape, yeah, okay, good. Rough plank-like. Smells, and often even under something like smells, you'll get a color. It's just strange the way the communication channel, all of this is with your communication channel, working that out and trying to improve it and understand how it works and getting it to understand your intentions and expectations. Notice this B. What was this? Oh, look at that. It was a B. There must have been something in the other one, and I might remember, it might not. But now what I would do is I would go back here and, you know what? Maybe I put these two together. I really want to do triangle. I am now adding to my appreciation of a triangle with my communication channel. But then I'm thinking dimensions, geometry, shape. I didn't get any circles. Why didn't I draw a circle? And I would, on my transcript, I would actually add a circle in a different color. That's the third color you use, because I'm telling my subconscious, you know what? This is how I would do circles. And next time I get a circle, give me a circle. I always add something I would have liked to have done. So a circle is kind of a good one. Oh, maybe even just an arch. This is mostly an arch. I put an arch on my transcript, okay, intending and expecting to improve my communication channel by putting an arch. Oh, wow, terrific. Look at all these rectangles and multiple rectangles. Oh, subconscious, that was terrific. Thank you. We're really getting this better and better. So that's the sort of thing that I would do. The chirping sounds, oh yes, that's right. I sort of maybe felt like they were inside. Okay, so you get the idea here. You work it, you stay, and you stay with this, doing everything you can to, sometimes I use the words, light it up for the remote viewing session, entangle it with the remote viewing session, connect it to your remote viewing session. Okay, this was...
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
The moment, this might be really detailed, but the moment of entanglement in the feedback session, so let's say when I'm doing my RV session, I am entangling with this detailed where I'm going in and looking at my document, or would I entangle with, I get my feedback photo and I look at it and I like fill my computer screen with the image and I really look at it. Should I be entangling with that moment? Or then I go on and do this where I go back over my document, or do I entangle with, see what I'm saying? There's like, to me, it's kind of like two pieces in the feedback session. It's first seeing the photo and then it's doing this, or do we entangle with both?
I like the way you said it, especially since you said it. So for you, I really think you should do what you said. And that is the way it happens. If you remember, I showed you the feedback from the internet, and it had the coordinate on top, and then it had the picture. So right then and there, is a really good time to do the feedback, say the coordinate out loud, because when we do the remote viewing session, you say the coordinate out loud because that helps you entangle with it when you see it at the feedback time. So I would do just what you said. First, stay with the picture when it comes up from the internet, when you click on that link that I showed you. Up it comes, say the coordinate out loud, entangle with it, really get into it for the first time. Then you can have your transcript and then get into it again as you mark up your transcript for your feedback session and work with it.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I had the name of somebody on here, but okay, this is the one we did. This is the next one. Ramel, notice he
Yeah.
got a 6. So how do you do your feedback sessions generally?
I go on my own rhythm. I go on a metronomic rhythm, and I just don't censor anything. I declare AOL when I needed to. So actually, I'd like to see more of my ideogram to be more like a structure. I guess that's an angle in itself. I guess, yeah, that would be all right.
Okay, so good. You start right at the top and you do, and again, this is why it's 50-50. You do kind of an evaluation, A, but B, you are communicating with your subconscious, gee, I would like my ideogram. That's what this thing is. You know, most people start off with a squiggle of some kind, like a doodle, but there's a whole literature on ideograms, pictograms, and so that was great. So that's what you did. Hey,
Yeah,
subconscious, maybe you can make it even a little better for next time.
yeah, yeah. And usually the first thing that I see is like, when the aperture is still small,
Mm-hmm.
I see dotted and fine lines, which is actually, you see it in the photo itself, and it's dense and aplenty. There's multiple stuff in it as well. It's man-made, archy. I see like arches.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be part of the decor on top, on one of those things on top.
Yeah, okay.
I put down decorative, attached to something, which it is. I know that this is a structure that is contained, which it is contained. There are also metallic aspect of it as well, and grayish as well. And move on to the second page. Another one, pointed, peaking upwards. That's not my session. That's one.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, right.
Peaking upward, and there's also foundation. There's a foundation around it, so I know that this is something on top. So that's definitely a circular thing. That's
Wow.
major in it. It's like the major centerpiece is circular. And now I'm getting more and more information. And it smells fresh, very like heavy and dense again. Man-made, solid, and I know this is like an arch thing, which is really good compared to the picture. White as well, I put that in. AOL of a tent, which looks like a tent.
Yep.
Then also tastes like cement. Tastes like cement. And then there is this thing that I do, like I constrained my subconscious, and I would tell my conscious, I'm going to draw a rectangle in here. Then in perspective, show me how the gestalt is arranged as the winning photo site, on the winning photo site. And I would just pretty much just delineate it on this, like limit it on this rectangular thing. And this is what I got, which is really cool.
So you started with this?
Rectangle, the blank rectangle.
Yeah. Huh.
Outside. There you go. And then I told my subconscious, okay, fill it up with how it's the perspective of the gestalt of the winning target.
That's really interesting. And you did
Yeah.
that starting with this sort of the idea that you had a rectangle here.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Then multiple. I know it's not just one. There's like several things. So I was able to capture this other aspect of there's multiple things in there. It's colossal. Now it's colossal. It's dense again and heavy. Then I did a little summary. It appears to be several housing structure or building. Beautiful architectural design of colossal proportion. This seems as a function for people to gather and meet.
Well, you know, when you see stuff like this, and we see a lot of them like this, we saw quite a few of them at the conference where they're legitimately sixes. Hopefully this just helps newbies and everybody to get how great the consciousness capabilities of consciousness are. Precognition is real. Now let me point out something else here. Ramel, that was a very, very nice one. Notice they're ABs. It's almost impossible to come up with two photo sites, which are the possible targets, two possible photo sites, where there isn't some matching. And that's why you need, you know, one page, two is fine. Some people even do more of enough stuff to distinguish. And this was a great job of that. Thank you, Ramel.
You're welcome.
Okay, Lynn. Okay, you're here, Lynn.
Yep, I'm here.
And you went 4B just barely. Why don't you go through the feedback session now? And I see how you marked up the distinction. That's great. Why don't you do what? How would you do a feedback session? Do your feedback session now, and maybe I'll comment, maybe I won't. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm looking at the shapes, and I'm seeing like the flames, what I think kind of look like shapes of flames there in the 3. And that's really
Here.
for A. The
Here.
cotton symbol, I'm seeing that maybe as an upside down dome, and I think that's really A. That's great. Twin Peaks, that's I judge that for A, but I'm not sure because I have it kind of flat as a flat image or like mountains. I'm looking at the daisy and the AOL. I put balloons, Santa Fe, like balloon hot air festival. I'm looking at the nuclear bomb, but I think it looked like a person also or something. So I can't remember the other photo. I don't remember, so that's probably good.
Good.
I don't remember what it was. So
what about this?
Yeah. A frying egg, or it was like a flat eyeball or some floating eyeball I put. I don't know. It
Well,
just
well, now, but look at it now
circular
versus
Yeah.
this picture.
Yeah.
Why, yeah.
Yeah, it's circular and but it was flat to me, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, your subconscious didn't get it all. I would now mark that, circle it. Frying egg sounds like an AOL to me.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah,
looked
right.
like an AOL, and you kind of know it's an AOL. If you just look at this shape, you got multiple circles. There are multiple circles here. I think that's darn good. And
That
notice
could
if
also be the bird's eye view on top, looking it down.
it could be a top view from here. In
Bird's
fact,
eye
that
view.
would be a circle within a circle, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. But definitely you could have marked that as A, so you learned something about your judging.
Yeah, definitely this time for sure. Oh my goodness.
And let's see what else. It's good that you don't remember the other ones, but things like you got white, I would use that as a trigger to say, oh, gee, why didn't I get red? Look how dominant red is here. And I would spend a few moments looking at this red. You might even call it, some people are really good with subtleties. Maybe it's maroon, whatever color, but, you know, red certainly would work. And tell my subconscious, look, this is what red really is. You know, next time you see something like this, how about saying red? And thank you. Yeah, there was white here. I give you some white. And maybe even you might see, and this is blue. So use the stuff that you missed or any other words here to deepen the connection with your subconscious and your communication channel.
Marty, I think Rommel had something there. If you look down on that building, it would look like a daisy.
Like here.
Right. Yeah, that's the shape of the top of that building. You're looking down on it. So daisy is definitely a hit.
Yeah, and I can see. Well, okay, Lynn, just take that in. As a judge, maybe that's just what the sub was doing. Certainly be open to that. Now, what would you add that you didn't have? Oh, look at this. All your squares. You didn't mark that either.
Yeah, I didn't. Which...
Wow. And look, this thing's got 1,000,000 squares. I mean, I'll give you the daisy, but that requires thinking, maybe my sub looks from the top sometime, which it does. But this one is clear, right?
I would probably go back and just draw the outline of the structure and the details and
an arc,
building.
Structure. Write the word structure or building down.
Yeah, I make a distinction between like a natural thing and an art. Art is definitely man-made.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. And as you're doing all of this, you hold the intention of using what you've learned in the future and the expectation of that, and the intention and expectation that your communication channel is opening up and improving between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. We use lots of different words, but that's the idea. This stuff is coming from a submerged consciousness of some sort.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I did more. Let me just see. No, I guess, okay. So that was all I did this time, and hopefully you've got the idea.
There should be one for me.
Yeah, well, there were 7 people, and already we're at an hour.
Yeah.
And I try to go into the next, and I don't remember what yours was, but you'll do a feedback session with yours.
My comment is that I kept seeing a face, and I like a snake face or a frog face, and when you look at that building, it looks like eyes and kind of a beak there. So that's what I was seeing, was calling it a face.
Did you judge it?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Good for you. Okay. Anybody else want to comment who maybe I didn't show but was here? Okay. Okay, so let's go now. And we're getting ready to do a new prediction. So one of the things you should almost do is, loosen up your body a little bit. We're going to go into this mode where we're going to be like 90% into our intuitive, into this communication channel with our subconscious, just enough intellect around so we can write stuff on our transcript. But we're basically going to get to where we're mostly witnessing, we're mostly listening to our subconscious mind. And this prediction will be a series, so this is the entire series now of monthly plus, a lot of these are more than a month predictions. This is the question: will the New England Patriots win the FEDC conference in January 2018. So we still have, as you can see, some open answers here. We don't have enough statistics yet to be statistically significant, but we do have more hits and misses. So now the cue, as always, describe and or sketch your 6-digit feedback target. That's the coordinate or transcript reference number. Actually, we should call it the feedback reference number, but you know, this is the first number that comes up randomly, and so it's also called transcript reference number. And just emotions are somehow part of this entanglement. And it's so logical that if you're in a positive mood, a happy mood, you might even bring feelings of love and contentment into this. It helps. I mentioned this intention, attention, expectation. Why don't you, even now, start setting your intention of developing a transcript which is really going to be a good match to your feedback target. And an expectation. You're going to expect this, which is different. It's like, hey, I know my subconscious can do this. I'm just going to listen and trust it. You know, I trust that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. That's, you know, that's different. And I'm going to pay attention to what my subconscious provides. And I'm going to pay attention to whatever comes up. And you know what? I'm going to do a great job at describing and sketching my feedback target. How do I get started? Let's do it. The group manager would, again through email, send out an email just like this. So I did this earlier, and it is very simple. You know, the transcripts happen to be due today. It has the question, and it gives the event start time, which is January 2018, but that's in the tasking here. And then we're ready to click. Again, from the viewer perspective, it's very easy. Up comes this screen. Let me make it bigger so you can all see it. And it wants an email address. Again, remember, people, I'm the representative from all of you here, so I put in my email address, the group, and then we're going to do one coordinate. Some people like to go to 2 coordinates, but that's for more experienced people. Plus we have multiple people here, so we'll do 1 coordinate. And then you click here. The next screen that comes up gives the cue, right? Describe and sketch, but there is the coordinate, 530120. Okay, you might even say it out loud now. The next thing that happens after you do your remote viewing session, and you're going to do that shortly, and again want you to feel good about doing this session, you get into that space, you're going to upload your transcript. So we'll talk about that after you do your transcript. But you now have the coordinate. I'd like you to put that on the top of a worksheet. Okay, so we're getting ready to do it. I just sent that. We looked at it. I can send you a sheet like this. Many people make their own, or once you're experienced, you just start with a blank sheet of paper, and we'll put these words on just to ask about textures. You know, we've talked about all the things which you can get. They might be words or sketches. Often the first thing that comes up is a gestalt. The other thing I would like to point out is often, you know, you can be saying it out loud now, but when you feel like you're ready to go, you say it out loud and just do ideogram. Some people think of it more like a pictogram. It's kind of a combination of both, but the motion, the feeling of what you write down really helps get everything going, and there is often lots of information in that. People often will go back and tick and touch the ideogram, and they'll get one of these things, or they'll get a sketch. So hopefully now you've put the coordinate on the top here, right? 530120. And then you put name, today's date, and the time wherever you are. And now we're about to do a cool down. This is where you're basically quieting your mind of the day-to-day stuff that you brought with you into this session. You know, we all have lives. We're trying to get rid of that and really quiet our mind and get into this place where we're open to receiving information from our subconscious. Okay, usually people start by breathing deeply and just intending to quiet their minds, make that connection. Okay, so your attention is going from your sub, okay, to your conscious mind. This is the focus. There's your cue. The cool down now is really important. Joe McMonagle thinks it's 75% of the discipline because you're now opening to, intending and expecting to connect with your feedback target for 530120. I have a HemiSync that I've put online. I'll put the link into the chat box shortly. Some of you may want to use that. Others have their own way of using this, but I'll be giving you 10 minutes. And in fact, let me see if I can get this. Okay, wait, I have it one other place. Not there. Here. Okay. Okay. And there will be a 5-minute notice, a relatively quiet notice saying it's 5 minutes. A lot of people use about half the time to cool down and then half the time to do their session, but viewer's in charge. And then 1 minute notice at the end. And I'm going to start your 10 minutes now. Nice. Okay. Okay, your 10 minutes are up. Shake out a little bit, come on back to your normal state. Okay, so let's see if I have... Okay, so you've now done your session. Okay, I see Valerie. No, that's absolutely fine, and I love newbies, so you be sure to ask lots and lots of questions. I think there was another question here. Oh yeah, about the 6-digit number. Some people use letters. It's just a identifier, the what we call a coordinate. Okay, so you've done your session, right? Terrific. What's the next step? The next step is to do the judging with two possibilities. Remember we talked about photosite targets, there being two of them. One's going to be associated with yes, the other's going to be associated with no. And let's see how we do that. Here, remember the screen where you got the coordinate. Well, normally in our groups, each of you would need to either use your smartphone and take a picture of your transcript. Some people use, they have fax machines, they can fax to themselves, they use scanners, but one way or another, you need to get your transcript into your computer and then you browse for it. Okay, so you browse wherever it is. For me, I have something, because I don't do these sessions, I have something I call a dummy transcript. So just like I am going to that, you would go to one of your pictures, the picture of your transcript, not a picture, the picture of your transcript, and then you click browse. And as soon as, well, okay, and then you get it in here. When I click submit, again, this is all very simple, though at first, if you've never uploaded to your computer, it may be a bit. You can email me. I'll show you how to do it. But then we click submit, and only when we click submit is the pairing of the particular choice for the two transcripts chosen. So, I mean, this is true precognition. You can't sort of sneak ahead. You've got to use your precognition, which is what you did to get your transcript. So I'm now going to click here and we will see the two possible choices. Okay, there they are. One's called photosite A, photosite B. We saw that. We're eventually going to be judging those against the TARG scale. And notice we can put up the TARG scale from here. So it's not like you have to memorize it. When you're doing your judging, you can always call it up, but it'll be remarkable how quickly you will get a sense of it. And it's 0 to 7, no correspondence, little correspondence, some correct elements, but not sufficient to suggest results beyond chance expectations. There's going to be some chance involved. Even if you've got a noisy signal, you'll get some matches. A 3 is a mixture of correct and incorrect, but enough correct that you feel, you know what, I made my precognitive contact with the target. I made psychic contact. That would be a 3. A 4 is good correspondence with several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. In fact, I actually think I have a view graph that highlights this. This is now good correspondence. There's still some incorrect information. We consider 3.5 to be wagerable. So this tells you how comfortable you feel. 3 is just on the edge. 3.5 is wagerable. 4 is good. 5 is very good. This is where Russ Targ from SRI, unambiguous, unique, matchable elements, but some incorrect information. And then 6 is good correspondence. Now you bring in what we call analytical information. And that's one of the things you're learning here, is to tell the difference when something comes up from your subconscious versus coming up from your intellect. But sometimes that stuff is right. And then 7 is when you actually name the target. You know, we don't encourage that, but a name comes up, you mark it as an AOL on the right, and if everything else is right, there's essentially no incorrect information. That's a 7. A 6, you still might have a little incorrect information. Okay. So there we are. Let me use that A-B approach we talked about, where in a different color, or if you don't have a different color, just mark it as A and B. And if there's something which is particularly striking that came out of nowhere, for example, or a super good match, you might mark, you know, a bigger A than your normal A, or circle it or something, just to identify it so it's clear. Oh, that's right, I could have used this. Okay, and here's a TARG system. Now, when you do your judging, and at the bottom in the chat, there's an opportunity to put it, and usually we use to everyone, but if you click on the right down arrow, you will see the ability to send it to, it says either Marty or presenter. Mine doesn't have my name on it, but it'll be clear. And what I'd like you to do when you finish your judging is to do two things. Write the confidence ranking for A and B. And the way you do that is just write an A, and then you can put an equal or just a number. And then on the next line, or a comma, put B and a confidence ranking from 0 to 7. And as you see, it can be 3.5, 4.5, 2.5, 5, 6, whatever you as the judge decide. And very important that you do this independently. And then after you do that, if you can attach this, your transcript, so now you do have to upload it to your computer, but or you can do it from your cell, attach it and then send it to me, and then I'll show it to everybody, and we will be able to discuss them, and ultimately I will make a group judgment.
Can you make them bigger, Marty?
Yeah, let me see if I can make this smaller. I think that's, here, let me make this smaller. And I can make this bigger. That's as much as it'll let me move it over. Hopefully that helps. And if you want a moment for a short time, okay, that wasn't much bigger here. I can make the train much bigger. That's photosite A. and this is photo site B. Okay, so you're 90% intellectual, but you may get insights from your subconscious about some of the connections. The subconscious uses lots of different things, analogies, etc. Oh, you didn't have a chance to judge yours, John. Sorry. Or maybe you did. Take your time. As we showed earlier, this is a very significant session. From here is where we make wagering decisions, as well as your personal judgment. You get a sense of how well you connected up. Okay, Vince, thanks. I've got your transcript, which you emailed to me, and in the private box, to me, would you please put A and whatever your CR was for that, and a B and whatever your CR is for your B photo site. And then after I get most, if not all of them from everybody else, we'll talk about it, starting with yours.
Marty?
Yep.
It's Vince here. Did I
Hi,
not
Vince.
write it on the,
I haven't
did I
looked
not
at,
write it on?
I haven't looked at it. Plus, I want everybody else
Oh, okay.
to do it because I'm making a table of everybody so we can do judging.
Right. Okay. Could you blanket that so this way nobody knows about it or sees it?
Yeah, that's why you go to the bottom of the chat and click
Okay.
that little down arrow. And in fact, tell me what it says. It'll say either Marty or private to Marty or something like that.
Okay.
Linda, were you not able to for technical reasons or you didn't want to? Just so I know. You can reply in private. Thanks, Evelyn. Okay, thank you, Lynn. It's just better to use the private. Vince, if you're having trouble with the private, go ahead and put it in the public. You know, I just like to emphasize the point that each of these are done independent by you without any influence by others because you never know who's right. Some may go one way, some may go the other. As you saw in the feedback, that often happens.
And whereabouts do I find that?
Okay, there's a chat box. Look,
Yeah.
you see that?
Yes.
At the bottom of it, right now it should say to everyone,
Okay.
and click on the right side of that, and it'll open up and probably say private. Hey, that's okay, Lynn. And
Marty, it won't let me right click, but I can left
no,
click and it
yeah,
gives out.
and what comes down? Something comes down when you left click. Yeah, left clicking is the right thing to do, and you should
Yeah.
see everybody's name.
So I just click on presenter only?
Yep.
Okay.
So now you'll know for the next time.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Valerie, do you want to be the presenter? Sometimes that comes up unintentionally. Okay. And hopefully you're still working on your judging. And what about for A? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to bring up emails. If you're not finished judging, just do keep doing your judging until you're comfortable. But I think it's time to start looking at these. And so Vince, I'll bring yours up first. There you go. And you gave, okay, let me see, I can move this to the right. And so I'll give you my sort of, okay, stream of consciousness. You're a newbie here, so, okay, so you have a bunch of B's. The sounds were both. In fact, let's make your transcript now a little bit bigger, if I can. There we go. And your A was a 2.5, so you go in as a pass, which is fine. About a third of the time, people pass. So your textures, you gave the whole thing a B. It's better if you marked a B on each element. You know, the way Rustar calls them elements, each word would be an element.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, because all of these are separate precepts that you got. And what did you see here? Bird's eye view. Yep, that looks like it's come from there. Rooftops. See, I think that would have been 2 Bs. Is that what you had in mind?
Well, yeah, it was like I oversaw basically like a city or coming from like from on top of, say, a bigger building.
Right.
Okay.
So that's good. I mean, that's a nice B. Multicolor, blue, red, sky blue, sunny.
Yeah. I
See,
was more for rooftops and whatnot,
right.
coming from over top, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you got a lot of blue.
Yeah.
Red, I don't see any on either, so you leave that blank just like you did. Sky blue, you got blue twice, and that indeed is sky blue, and they're probably both sunny, so you could have put an A and B there. Again, I'm just showing you what at least I would do. Different judges, by the way, don't always do the same thing, but they all learn from the feedback session. Smells airy, breezy, clean. Yep, you did that as B, but I'm not sure. Some would probably put an A under airy, and maybe clean. That looks like a clean site. But again, judges would do it differently. Also, you had the feeling of it. Buildings, a strong B. Sounds, yeah, one wind, and that is certainly sounds. Now, I look at this picture, and you didn't mark anything on your picture. And that's probably because you thought the words covered building. But this came up as a separate image.
Yes.
So I would definitely mark B for that. I mean, you know, it's not quite the shape. And you see this mark here, that's probably, I know you thought it was water, you said water, but that also looks an awful lot like a train track. So some people, and I don't, you know, you have to decide. And when you do enough of these, you begin to see if I do something long like this, it could be a river, but it also might be the train track because that's how a person would show a train track, except it might be straight. So I can't quarrel with you. I'm just giving you sort of things that are now with you for next time you do judging. But otherwise, that was great. Thank you. Not
Okay, thanks
otherwise.
a lot.
This was great. and I don't want to say like you should have put an A there. I'm not saying that. I'm saying some judges might have put an A there.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. So let's close this and let me open up. Ramel was next. And here you are, Ramel. Let me close that one. And let's go here. Okay, Ramel.
Yeah.
Why don't you,
Here's
tell us. Oh, and you gave yourself,
B 5.
right, a 3.5 and a 5. Yeah, so.
Well, right on the bat, I found musicality. See that kind of like a curved line on top of the musicality. That to me
Yeah,
represents
right
this
here. Mm-hmm.
right away. Plus, you know, the Los Angeles Concert Hall. Isn't that Los Angeles Concert Hall?
Yeah, I think
Or they
that's the
do
Disney Hall.
musical
But
Disney Hall.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Got the white, blue, definitely blue. Um, although I do have some blues and reds here as well here on a train.
Yeah, I guess that
I
is
don't have
red.
red.
Yeah, I
I
guess that
don't have
is
red.
red there. Yep. Yeah, what I
I
told
don't think
Vince
about
was wrong. There is red there,
tomato.
Vince. Okay.
But most of my session, to cut it short, it's mostly connected with light, like reflection of lights,
Mm.
and also the curves, musicality of the curves, man-made. This one, the two lights, like when you look at that's an A, definitely when you see like two lights on there. But then on the right side, on B, you see two multiple lights on the right side of this building.
Here.
So yeah, so that can be a B as well. But more like, to me, I find it more, I sense that the object having multifunctions, I sense I'm going inside this, and it felt like to me like electrical. This one has like metallic, I call it metallic as well, though both of them are metallic. Structure man-made, when you look at this
Yeah.
structure on here, this can either be both, I guess,
Yeah,
but
you
it's
have
more
a
to
lot
me.
of boths, and looking at the pairing, there is a lot of
Yeah,
boths. So in
yeah,
many
but the
ways,
only
this
thing
is
that
not a good
difference is that,
pairing. Yeah.
yeah, the undulating thing, the thing that's what's repeated, like the main attractor to me is
Hmm.
the undulating curvy thing. Um, so to me,
Yes.
that's the rooftop.
And that's what you got here.
Yeah, and decorative, and then I put the box again, and I saw
Yeah.
this thing, and this kind of like wavy. When you look at it, there's light reflection, like wave. Um, what else did I put on
Well, and
there?
this, well, no, I guess they both have rectangles, but yeah, I can see what you're saying. You
And then
know,
I actually wrote down theater, theatrical curtain.
oh, where'd you write
So there's
that?
a reference to theater on first page.
Oh,
On
oh
well,
yeah,
yeah, there you go.
that's very
See
strong.
that? A theatrical
Yep,
curtain. I thought like a curtain.
yep,
So I
that's
wrote down
very strong.
theater.
Okay,
And the last part on page 2, all the way down.
mhm.
When you look at it, there's these all the way down. More. There you go. That's definitely a B to me because it looks more like, like when the undulating again, the undulating repetitious curvy thing in there, and which has more like a handwork on it as well.
Yeah.
I AOL this Aurora Borealis, which is kind of interesting
Mm.
because you see the reflection of lights in here and the blues and the
Mhm.
silver and all that.
Okay,
So
very
that's
good. Well,
why.
let me make a few comments.
Yeah,
Again, I just sort of,
yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
know that much more than
I'm
everybody else in this, but
focusing more on the
notice this
bees.
sound of nature and chirping.
I know. That's the thing.
That's a pretty
I'm
good
thinking that
A. Come on.
that's
And the
definitely an A.
mountains, you saw it as that. So I don't know, and this is just a caution for everybody.
But the
Sometimes,
thing is, look, I AOL this as light show.
yeah. Hey, I'm
This
not
is as light
disagreeing.
show,
I'm
as like
pointing this
Aurora
out
Borealis.
so others, whether you like it or not, this would be marked as an A. I think you would agree with that. That should be marked as an A. And the strength, which is, you know, the A is part of analysis. And I love the way you do capital A's versus little a's to distinguish, rather than making a bigger A on the page, you use that approach. And that's great.
Hmm.
But you would have to have this at least as a little a, if not a big A.
That's correct. That's correct. It's
But
just the
then,
sound of nature. Yeah.
but then during the judging, this is where the strength, your maybe intuition, your feelings come in that, yeah, there's still a fair amount of A's in there. But when I look at this all and the feelings I got and look how strong theatrical is, I'm going to give it a 5. So I understand that, but for everybody listening and watching, um, the analysis part you want to do fairly. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you, Mel. And I know you understand the
Right.
context I'm saying this in.
It's very hard for me to pass.
Well,
I
no, but you
have to
gave it
make
a
a decision.
5, and you have
Yeah.
3.5, and but I think this is, in retrospect, I would have to say, now that I see this is a bad pairing. There's too much that's alike. However, you picked up so much that was different in each of them.
Yeah, it's like I want to focus
Okay.
on lights. So I think, well, the other one has like lights, but not as much lights, reflection and play. And I named theater. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. And
more
that's pretty good. And that's why you
connected
gave that
with
one
that
the
one.
higher score.
Yeah.
And that's fair. And you should be aware of that, stay aware of that, and then at feedback time, you'll learn something about that.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. Okay, let me go to Lynn. Okay, so here's Lynn's. Let's see if we can see the whole page.
Okay,
Okay.
so my initial gestalt was complex, heavy, and tangled.
Mm-hmm.
So I think complex and heavy might be for both A and B, but tangled I was for definitely for B. Colors, the colors, I got stuck on white. White came immediately and I couldn't really get any, there weren't, lots of times colors really come,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't get beyond white. I kept trying and then blue came and so anyways I marked mostly the colors. Later on I got like a little image of maybe like aqua, like a piece of chewed up chewing gum, and that's why I put it up there, aqua colored piece of chewing gum, which kind of is like also like B for me.
Mm-hmm.
Textures, smooth, furry, and then I was off into animal land.
Uh-huh.
Sounds, now here's the thing, sounds I got rhythmic, artificial, and that's pretty much A, I would guess, for a train, having a rhythmic maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
Um, and smells, tastes, nothing really stuck out. And the dynamics also were like for A, like circular in motion, which I guess would be the wheels, but not necessarily the train, because the main movement of the train, of course, would be linear.
Mm-hmm.
Aesthetic impact, kind of natural, outdoors, a
Right.
little bit more A, but still
I like big A,
it's
little
not
B.
really an aesthetic impact, right? Because
Right.
A would be like that's not the overall impact of the photo of A. Would that be correct?
No, I think that's okay. A natural scene, and you might also have motion or loud. Um, Gestalts and first impressions, in my mind, um, are both related in the way the consciousness would pass it up to you. So I have no problem calling it that. You know what I'm saying? Some people argue the
Yeah.
gestalt here might be, train or motion or whatever. But also, where you put it exactly uh, isn't as important as the fact that you got natural. You see what I'm saying? In other words, your consciousness gave you the word natural.
Yeah, yeah,
That's more important than what category you put it under. Sometimes under sounds, you'll get a color. Um, for whatever reason, the subconscious was ready to give you a color. And let me say here again, white is a B for
yeah,
sure,
sure.
but so is blue. And so I
Blue.
would put this as a B as well.
Yeah. And then for the sketches, the sketches were more indicative of B, I thought. I got like a
Sure.
contour like kind of thing, and
Yep.
and then also, yeah, that I wasn't quite sure, and then I started going into like memory mode. I thought, oh, I'm thinking of that past picture we just had, and
Yeah.
but
You were aware of that, which is great. And, you could put some of that down in an analytical overlay.
yeah. And then I had ice. I just ice, and that generated the smooth texture. In the AOL, I put ice, and that kind of reminds me of B.
Um, yeah. I'm personally much harder on using the AOLs that way. But
Okay.
but you did make it a B. I'm not saying I'm right. You got to really understand. I give you stream of consciousness response, which I hope is coming from my conscious, subconscious, and is useful. But AOLs. The rule about AOLs are they're usually wrong because they're coming from the intellect, and sometimes they're right on. And anyway, that's my rule. Okay, very good. And you judged it as a 2 and a 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
It's hard.
okay. When independent judges you look at the same transcript and picture, they generally differ by 1. So,
Okay.
okay, good. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Lynn. And let me get the next one, which is Evelyn. Let's do yours. Okay.
I think she missed the train lights on that last one. I would have marked that definitely. The eyeglasses.
Ah, ha, ha. See, you're good. That's why I love to do this with a lot of people. The eyeglasses, again, different judges do different things, but now that you're looking at that, I think um, even Lynn would agree that if someone were to mark that as a match, you could see why. So
And that she had some rectangular shapes that could be like the cars, the
here
sideways.
and here,
Yeah, she had like 3 rectangular shapes that could be like that side view of the cars.
yeah,
Yeah.
you should feel free to point that out while it's up there.
Okay.
And we don't want to go too long and say too much, but stuff that's clearly relevant, and that was. But nevertheless, a lot of the rectangles are on both. I personally do not like this pairing, and I will probably change it to another one. But just because there's too much in common, and you remote viewers are pointing that out. Okay, Evelyn, go ahead. Tell us about yours now.
Right, because the Gestalt smooth metallic fresh air, I mean, that could be all,
Yep.
both of them.
And you have
I
a lot of
gave
ABs.
I gave the fresh air because I thought, well, that's a city, so you don't easily call a city fresh air. So I gave that, but I
Yeah.
had to give smooth and metallic to both of them. The Gestalt to me seems like like a train, because it's like there's some people in the background, that don't show much, and then it's kind of moving and curving. So I think that the ideogram, I think
Oh, I
matches
see.
the train more than the buildings. But the first thing I saw was the arc with the kind of a little darker triangle in it, and then it elongated into the long thing,
Yeah.
which I think would be a top view of the train, basically.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was feathery around it, but that would be the trees on the left side look
Yep.
kind of
And there's
feathery.
some here too. Interesting. Uh-huh. So you gave
And
it a big A, but you had to give some to B because of the curvature. Hmm.
yeah, and the arc like actually fits both of them. So like you say, I was kind of a little confused looking at them, but it seemed like things where the train was stronger. And color wise, I got blue, green, and white, and there isn't much white on either one of them, but there's lots of green on the
Yeah.
train, and lots of blue in both of them. And then I wrote it as a AOL, the crank, the high pitched squeal, that came when I was trying to make another drawing, and that was that drawing in the kind of in the middle
Oh,
there.
that's what you
And I
say here. Did you
yeah,
put that in as
that's
an
the
AOL
I,
though,
I
or?
put it down as the AOL because it came to me, and then as I was trying to figure out what I was seeing for this drawing, I think I was actually seeing the side of the back part of the train, a side view
Okay.
of the back part of the train, but I couldn't get it clear enough to really make a decent drawing. And so that was where the crank and the high-pitched squeal, I felt like metal moving, metal on
Wow.
metal.
See that
Uh,
that's pretty strong.
rather than concert, it would work for a high-pitched concert too, but it
Yeah.
was more like the sound of metal moving was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, as you were calling time, was the kind of like smoke rising up, and
Mhm.
almost like from a volcano, but it wasn't quite, and I was thinking, okay, this might be a smokestack.
Right. I
and
think I
and
even.
trains usually, diesel train is going to put out a little bit of smoke, so I think that's probably what that
Wow.
was. But I gave it a little bit of a B, because if you kind of look at the you know, the way the sun and everything and
Yep.
the glints on that thing, it could be this, it could also be that rising up.
Yep,
So I gave that a
I
little of a
get
B.
that. And most of us have in our subconscious those wonderful pictures of the older trains that have all the smoke coming out of it. So I also
Oh
agree.
yeah, I had a toy train as a child, a
Yeah,
American Flyer train, and you could put drops in it that made it
yeah,
smoke.
exactly. And so, and that's the way the subconscious will do if it's trying to tell you things about a train. Okay, so I have no problem, and you gave that a 4.5. Okay,
Right.
very good. Thank you. So I think that's everybody.
And I watched two conferences in over 2 different weekends, and I learned a lot about judging by listening to them talk, and I learned a lot about myself and a little, because I'm putting it to use now with this session and the one I did the other day for you. So I'm trying to use all this stuff I'm learning, and I picked up a lot of little things from both the IRVA and you guys as one. So
Well,
I want to go back and replay the ones that we are allowed to replay, because and pick up on the little things that I missed.
okay, that's great. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's why I do these classes is, to teach people. And it sounds like you're using them and everything. So that makes me feel good. Thank you, Evelyn. Okay, let me bring over, if I can, something's in the way here. There we go. So I want to bring over the table I made. And first thing is just to verify that it's correct. Okay, so why am I having trouble? Oh, there we go.
Marty, what was the title of this one? What are we doing? What are we predicting? I forgot.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Okay, in fact, okay, first of all, make sure that all of this is indeed correct, and I didn't leave anybody else out. The coordinate, I always felt it might be good to put this here. The coordinate is 530,120. It makes it a formal part of the record here. This is what we're predicting. Okay, now let me show you the way I do judging. What I've done, because I believe that the higher the score, the better, and our data supports that. And also the difference of the numbers being large matters. Here's a difference of 2.5. Here there's a difference of 1.5. But it is over 3.5. And then I put the 3.5s here in gray to recognize that they're important, but of lesser importance, in my opinion, and I'm the one doing the judging. But remember what I said at the beginning, what ultimately matters is your personal prediction. And you can see we have a 4.5 here and a 5 here. So what I know now is one's going to get a hit and one's going to get a miss, and I don't know which way it's going to be. I don't even know yet which one's yes and which one's no. So I'm sitting here And I don't see anything particularly overwhelming. These are so close. But, you know, I would recommend to these two people that they might, if they want to, wager on their own. So whichever way this is, Evelyn might go that way. Whichever way this is, Ramel might go that way. But since they see the opposite, but we get opposites like this, but usually, like in the past, it was overwhelming, at least much stronger on one side than the other. So I'm afraid I don't like the pass either, which is a mistake of mine as a group manager sometimes, but this time I think it's clear. This is a group prediction equals pass. Okay. So we're going to pass as a group, and that's just fine. That is just fine because it's the personal predictions that matter. Let me save this, and let me now go back to here. So I'm going to pass, but remember we had a 4.5 and a 5. What I'm going to do is put this in as a 4.5 and a 4.5, which indicates we had high scores, but the fact they're the same is going to be a pass. In fact, two high scores, one on each side, led to group pass. I could make these a 4 or 4 or 3.5 or 3.5, but 4.5 is enough, which, you know, I wanted to show we had two high scores. So, you know, if you were doing this yourself, you would have your own CR for A and your own CR for B, and of course you would put that in. Then you put in a comment. All of this would be saved, so you come back later and learn from it. And here's a definition of photosite, verifiable information, but all your physical senses could detect. And then you click submit. So it says it's a pass, and it shows us that photosite A was randomly associated with yes. So I think it was Evelyn that you got A and Ramel got B, and you may or may not want to do anything with that. But that now finishes the judging. So you're done. You go about the rest of your day. Okay, so let's now, so that was the judging. We talked and did the TARG scale. I have this little joke just to remind you that skeptics who don't want to believe anything will take what are small differences, like the difference between an orange and a tangerine and a woodchuck and a beaver, and they would say, oh, you're a failure. That's the skeptic. But I think you've seen enough now to really appreciate that the communication channel, the subconscious up to the conscious mind, that communication channel uses analogies, uses metaphors, close to resemblances, similarities. And during the analysis phase, you mark each one of these precepts, elements, whatever you want to call them, with an A, an AB, or nothing. And then you make the judgment to the TARG scale based on how strong it was, using a little bit of intuition. And then at feedback time, you get to learn something about your judging, and you light up the target like crazy. Okay, you create your precognition. This is a wonderful connection that people more and more, I mean, the community of people who believe in psychic phenomenon and are applying it is growing. Our community here is growing. So you recognize using ARV that you are communicating with yourself between your earlier remote viewing time and your later feedback time. Okay, that's what this is all about. So that's why I call it telepathy. It's mind to mind between, usually it's two different people. Well, you know, you're a different person later. Lots of stuff has happened between you in between. So I think using the word telepathy here makes sense, and it's precognitive because you're communicating from the remote viewing perspective with you at a later time. But no, from the feedback perspective, you're also communicating back. Here we might use the word retrocausality because you're causing information to go on your remote viewing transcript. So that's really cool. And once you get this, and once you begin to see that it's real, not only intellectually, but deep, deep down in your gut, this really influences and can influence in a very positive way your whole life, because you're now open to getting information from the future, which can assist you in your now. Just like this was information from the future, which assisted you in your transcript. And then this has now become my standard end. I really believe this. Your health, and I've given whole webinars on how your target could be a healthier you. You can apply this for wealth, and I hope we're all getting wiser as we're paying more and more attention to this. So with that, are there any questions, comments? Okay, I thank you all for coming, and
Are we going to be able to see the conference soon? Is it online yet?
the conferences, you will be able to see it soon. They're working it, putting it up, and if you're a full member or went to the conference, you will in fact get to see them, and we'll give you the link to all of those people.
Great. And we've got a few transcripts that we haven't gotten feedback on.
Well, that's what I'm doing here. We're behind.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
one is behind.
I mean, there was one from Carve Group that we never got to. That was not long before the conference. I know you had your mind on other things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, we will get to them all eventually.
Okay.
There may be the passes like this one, which I may do in a different format just because of the time element. And so I'm still thinking about how to do that, but we will do them all. I mean, it's possible that I may just send them to all of the participants to do on their own, just because we're getting behind, as you can see.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But
well, this is great that you give up your Wednesdays to do this.
Well, thank you. And I just think this is really important. I believe we're on the verge of a major paradigm shift, and I hope I'm part of it. So, okay, all of you take care and keep precogning, and I'll end this now.